Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Sunday, July 30, 2023, at 3:15 p.m. Eastern. Have you ever wondered, I know we all have, I've stated this before, can't state it enough, but have you wondered, you might be in conversation or you know somebody and you say, they never seem to have, they don't seem at least to have any issues. Everything seems to go their way. Have you ever done that? You ever known anybody like that? Or have you ever watched anybody and kind of picked that up? Where they did, or have you had a family member or a friend where things always seem to work out for them? You know, they always have things happen that are really good. Not to say that they don't have some challenges, but for the most part, it just seems like they have some kind of a secret that they aren't telling anybody about. And then other people, they seem to always have things happen to them. And maybe that's you, maybe that's someone you know, right? Or even a family member or loved one, where they just seem to, have things happen to them that you just can't figure out why do you have so many things happen to you, or yourself. Have you ever said to yourself, enough already? Give me a break? So we're vibrating, okay? We hum. Now, our ears can't pick up that hum, but we hum at a very high frequency because of the God within us, the pure consciousness, the soul, the heaven, the kingdom of God. So it vibrates, it hums, but the frequency is too high for us to hear. Now, when you're in an interaction with somebody, or you're experiencing something, and it switches you into down mode, low frequency mode. Now, it's a lot of people fall for it because they just aren't aware enough about themselves and about the universe. So you get into it, right? And you ever notice that it takes, when you go into lower frequency, it's heavy. And because you get irritated, frustrated, maybe sometimes angry, but it's heavy, and for some reason, a lot of the times it comes when you push out, and you say, like, you don't want this to happen, and why is this happening? And every time, then that lowers your frequency. So in the initial stage, you've lowered your frequency because you get upset, you get irritable. Instead of just letting it pass by. Now, when you get upset and irritable, it's the ego mind. Absolute fact. 100% of the time, it's the ego mind. So, when you're aware, you'll know this. You say, that's an ego mind thought. That's an ego mind reaction. And I'm not going to engage in that. I don't care to. But most of us aren't that aware yet. So we go into it. You realize that all the people on the planet, doesn't matter who you know, who you don't know, all of us, roughly 8 billion of us. Now remember, we have a God, we're a God in a physical body, right? Body's got all motion, it's got ego, mind, illusion, not heart, mind, a lot of things that the God inherits when it enters that body. And we are literally, the majority of the population of this planet is controlled or mastered by the ego mind, which means that people always have to be proving something, doing something, achieving something, gaining something on a regular basis, because it's the ego mind pushing them, because the ego mind never is satisfied, so it's always asking for more. For instance, if you look at the structure, I don't care if they're Draco, doesn't matter, the species really, you can always tell which civilization is under mastership of the ego mind. Okay? Now some civilization species have ascended beyond that. They don't even bother to. There's no, ego mind is not in control of them. But for a lot, it is. And this is why we have, what? Galactic wars that last for millions of years. And conflicts that last for years and years, decades and decades and decades. For what? Really for nothing. But it's the ego mind pushing us to achieve, to win, to be successful. All of those things. And that's what creates the rat race. You ever watch a colony of rats and how they move? They're constantly sniffing and scurrying. They all hang together. They're all going in one direction. Now, they don't wander off, okay? They all pack together and they go in one direction. They're all moving constantly. Foraging, eating, moving. And that's kind of like the human civilization on this planet. They consume and move. And they're constantly moving, hustling, shuffling, and moving. Now, do they know where they're going? No, where a colony of rats will go, and then eventually it'll hold up for a while, nest, and populate, and then move on, and do the same thing again. Now, with humans, I wouldn't say in most cases nest. I guess maybe from the standpoint of finding a dwelling and staying there for 50 years. Okay? So we move constantly. We're in a hurry constantly. We see, and the ego mind's there because it's in charge, and it makes you feel hurried, and it makes you feel anxious, and it manipulates you into feeling fearful, worried, stressed, and at times anxiety, anger, disappointment, frustration. And can you ever feel it? It's kind of, it pushes you, constantly pushes you. And most of us have to be doing something. We feel guilty if we're not doing or accomplishing. We begin to feel guilty. We begin to feel useless. Okay? Now, as we age, the useless starts coming into clearer view, because a lot of people they reach a certain age and they give up, and they just go, well, that's it. It's like old dinosaurs waiting to die, or elephants, and they're useless. They believe they're useless and they can't do anything anymore. And but see what happens? There's a lot of element in there of their own powers convincing themselves, generation after generation, that they're done, that they can't do anything, instead of focusing on the fact of what they can do and how they can improve certain things, strength, body strength, so on and so forth, bone strength. It's quite interesting. But we do that. We, we, we are constantly creating, manifesting for ourselves, the ability to do certain things, strength, body strength, so on and so forth, bone strength. It's quite interesting. But we do that. We are constantly creating, manifesting for ourselves, the ability to do certain things, strength, body strength, so on and so forth, bone strength. exactly in this very moment, all of us, in this very moment. How we're living in this very now moment is what we created. No outside, really, seriously. We draw whatever we think comes from outside. We draw that to us. We create it. We don't. It's not like something drops out of the sky, hits us on the head, and we wake up and say, "Oh, that caused that." Now you could say, "Well, you're walking along peacefully and just kind of skipping to the loo, so to speak, and all of a sudden, an object hits you on the head." Well, you happen to be at that place at that time. You chose to be at that place at that time. And how many people do you meet that are passionate? Well, they're passionless. They don't have any passion. They seem on the verge of being inert, emotionality-wise. That there's no passion. Do you ever come across people like that? Every one of our problems, okay, every single one of them, are created between our ears. The mind, the brain, the mind. The mind is the illusion. The brain is organic. But we're speaking about the mind. So every problem that any of us have in this very moment, in this very now, we created. Now, obviously you want to argue that because, I didn't do that. I didn't create that. You're crazy. No, I had nothing to do with that. It happened. Somehow that happened from outside came, and that was it. So that's the excuse, because you didn't do it. You didn't do it. You didn't do it to yourself. But we do. Someone gets you angry. You don't even have to know them. You don't know them. They do something, right? Bump you. Say something derogatory. Just happens the mood you're in. It just happens to hit you the wrong way. And so you get irritable about it. And when you get irritable, you drop your frequency. And then when you drop your frequency, you bark at others. And then see how it cascades? When people are angry, they get angry with everybody. Because they drop into that lower frequency, that harmonic, that vibration. And when we become more aware, by our own choosing, by the way, and by some external things that spur us on or motivate us to wake up, and that's what happens to people. Something happens in their lives where it motivates them to wake up, and they wake up. It's like a light bulb coming on, and they go, "Where have I been? I can't believe all this is happening." And that's really true. I've talked to numerous people that when they actually wake up, it's not like they're just walking along and bing. It's kind of subtle, but the light bulb comes on, and they're no longer interested in what the life they're really having, experiencing, because to them it becomes a lie. And so they read things and they start looking at things on the internet, and things just start coming into view. Like when you focus binoculars, you can take the binoculars and you're looking far away and everything's blurred, right? It's like that. It's like a lot of us in this life, everything seems to be blurred. We really can't differentiate between the truth and the lie. So what we do is that we sit there and we say, now, I really can't make it out. I can see figures, colors, but they're all blurry. And so you take the adjuster on the binoculars and you start focusing it in, or a camera, right? And it starts to focus in, it gets real clear. Then you can see. Then you can understand. And that's about like we are. We're like binoculars. But we are out of focus. once we go into focus, and this is what happens to people, they wake up. They go, this isn't right here. This is really not good. And then they start diving in, and they have to be careful. Because they see the very thing, they're awake to a certain extent. And so they're starting to bring in information and learn and educate themselves on just exactly what's happening. But they gotta be careful, because they can't allow themselves to be absorbed into it. Now, it doesn't mean they're doing it on purpose to be absorbed into it. They just get in it. They just move into it. They don't believe they've moved into it because they believe that they're outside of it, but they're actually in it. And this happens to people. It's dangerous because it can pull them down. It causes depression, emotional pain, sorrow, anguish. And so you can look at it as a watcher from outside. And you can understand by watching, not judging. You just watch everything. And since we're all one, God, and we're in the body, because the body's an emotional vessel. We feel. We experience. You anywhere on the planet, things happen. You remember when the World Trade Center blew up? Remember when they blew that up? Did you feel like a drop that morning? Did you feel a drop? Or when a lot of people leave the body at once, do you feel something? We feel it. We feel the pain, the sorrow, the anguish, the stress, the anxiety. Someone would say, well, what about the evil ones? Why don't they feel it? Because they're the opposite. You see, the thing with the evil ones, the thing that they like is pain, sorrow, anguish. That's what they like. Disappointment. Being angry, frustrated. See, they are the opposite of we are. Okay? We are a civilization of the universe. They are an anti-civilization of the universe. They're opposites. There are polar opposites. Okay? I believe that this civilization is a kind, loving, good civilization. I really do. But there's only a handful of instigators that usually are in the path of power and control, because the people of the planet are so gullible that they believe that these vile ones are good people because that's all they see on the surface, right? They don't see the underbelly of what they really are. But I believe humanity is a benevolent civilization. It's not a warring civilization, but we've gotten that rap in the galaxy that we're a warring civilization. The only reason that is because we have an aggressor gene, right? It's in the civilization's genome, and it was purposely put there. What's an aggressor gene? Well, it means that you're short to temper, right? It means that you don't really evaluate anything, you jump right into it. It's like war. It's like anything. And you conflict with people, and you shoot first, answer questions later. Or ask questions later. And that's the aggressor gene. And we all have it. That's why it's sometimes for us to become calm, release of stress. For some, it's very difficult. But that's why we talk about being calm, having your body relax, being calm is really important. Really important. So we start to understand this, and then we know what to do in certain cases with ourselves, because we're learning about who's running the show. Right? Who's running the show? The ego mind is. We're not. We believe we are, think we are, but we're not running the show. This is why people are constantly striving, constantly wanting this, and constantly wanting. And we've all experienced it. You get something, right? And it's to die for, and you get it, and it is great, and then things kind of wear off. They're not that great. And, shoved back in a closet or something. So it's about us. It's all about you. I say that a lot because it's true. It's all about you. You deserve the best of everything. We all do. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. This is not about greed, all right? It's not about wanting. It's about we deserve the best of everything. We're gods, for goodness sakes. We're gods in the body. I mean, the only thing that's real are us, the gods. Everything else is an illusion. It isn't real. How do you know this? When things change, they're not real. Anything that's changing isn't real. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? You, the God that you are, is the only thing that's real. Divine perfection. How do we occupy our time? Inhabiting physical forms, experiencing the physical life, creating, manifesting all the time. It's what we do. So what we've always done. So it's like what would we be doing otherwise? We're always interacting, right? No matter with ourselves or this species or any other species. We will always interact. Always be curious. We have just a phenomenal opportunity to graduate out of ego mind. I'm not saying ego mind's a bad thing. It's not an enemy. Ego mind teaches us. It teaches us how not to be. In some ways, how to be. What do you think would take place? What do you believe would take place if many of us caught on or discovered the fact that we are God in the body and that we are omnipotently powerful, supreme beings that never die? And we can manifest anything we want, like the eye. What do you think would happen? Well, you would see, we would progress, we would learn, and by moving out of the control of the ego mind and making it our servant, and then learning that everything is an illusion, and understanding it, and loving ourselves, the gods that we are, and have surrendered all the things we carry with us lifetime after lifetime, and slow down, you could manifest a sunny day if you wanted. It'd be cloudy, rainy, and you say, I like a sunny day. and the clouds clear, and it's a sunny day. But if the area needs water, then you say, I'd like it to rain, nice soaking rain. And this is how powerful we are. You see a natural hurricane. I emphasize the word natural hurricane. And it comes out, and let's say it comes up, it's getting ready to hit Florida. And then you say to yourself, I don't really care to have that happen to the people in Florida. I would like it to disperse itself. Maybe have a nice rain, in the southern region. And it would happen. But see, you gain you understand your responsibility, and since you're not ego-minded anymore and you're heart-minded, then you don't have that propensity to, pound your chest and say, I'm omnipotently powerful, I can manifest anything I want. No, it's not because, hey, look at me, because everybody would have that maturity level, because they would discover along the way God that they are within the body. And they would learn things and understand things. It wouldn't be competition, who's better than you, how much can I manifest? Well, they manifested a big house, I'll manifest a bigger house. None of that stuff, because it's ego mind. And we're at peace at that stage. And we're content. And we're in bliss, joy, and happiness all the time, because that's what we are. And light frequency, okay, is tremendously powerful. Light frequencies, high frequency. We call the low frequencies dark frequency. What do we wish for? Wish is a form of manifest. Wishing me, but if you wish, a lot of the times you don't believe that it will ever happen. Wishful thinking. When you were growing up, were you ever told as a child wishful thinking? Or someone saying to you, when you say, I know this is going to happen. And they'll go, oh, that's never going to happen. Not in a million years. It's impossible. But you say within yourself, oh no, it's going to happen. Because right now we're kind of like in this dark age. I won't even say age, but a low frequency muck. That's, when you walk through it, it takes a lot of energy for the body to walk through it, because it's so thick. And I don't know if you've ever been in a bog, where you know what a bog is. It means all these vines and plants and water and everything are all kind of stuck together. And then the floor, the bog is never really deep, super deep. It's kind of shallow. But all the debris and the muck underneath the water, on the floor. And have you ever tried to walk through a bog? Like a cranberry bog, right? Out there, Martha's Vineyard out in Cape Cod, where I live. So you look at the cranberry bogs, and they're not easy to walk through. Okay, especially the wild ones, not the farm ones. And our intent, our energy, right, is to what? To be free. All the way around. Free from the ego mind. Free from tyranny. We stop we participate, but we're not in it. It's like I say, you can go swim in the pool. Where are you going? Go swim in the pool. But I'm not going to stay there. And then the others stay there till the skin falls off, because they turn into prunes, but they stay there. And it's an analogy of this life. The people park themselves, and that's their prerogative, and they stay there. You can't budge them. You can't get them to budge. Why would you? It's their body. It's their decision. Maybe they won't discover until the next lifetime. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. But you can feel the shifts and the changes happening. And it's happening all around us. And it's happening within us. Because we have a major role, we have a major part in having this all created, because collectively we created this. Why did we create it? To experience. I know that sounds strange for some. Why would we create so much turmoil? Why would we create conflict and all the pain and suffering, disappointment, fear? Why would we do that? Well, we don't do it like, let's put it this way, we're not consciously aware that we're doing it, for the most part. But the reason we create it, there's one big reason that why we create it, why we feel it. Not just this planet, but the whole solar system, all life. We create it as far as our civilization, our species. We create it because we too often, generation after generation, move into low frequency. That's why. We move into low frequency. And when we move into low frequency, we're susceptible to control. We're susceptible to be governed. Okay? We're susceptible to be intimidated and fearful of a government that claims it's for the people, that it serves the people. This is when we become vulnerable to that effort to dissuade us from doing anything else but being in that bog with them. And because of all the frequency of the high vibrational harmonics that are happening with this planet, this solar system, this part of the universe, and the massive photon energy field that we are literally traveling through, and we will be traveling through it for the next couple thousand years, that's huge. We created that energy field collectively. So what's it doing? It's saturating, soaking, and permeating the planet. That's what it's doing. That's why people are waking up at much more at a quicker pace than they did 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. That more and more people are doing that because things are accelerating. I don't mean a hurry, not that kind of acceleration, but the frequencies are accelerated. They're high. They're resonating in a deep eternal love, kindness, generosity, humbleness. They're not scattered. And more people that I talk with and communicate with are saying that I do feel it. It's nothing like it's ever been before. And I say, what do you believe it is? Because there's a lot of people on the planet are starting to stir, right? Stir away. Because you believe that this is going to go on like this? You believe that everything's going to be doomy and gloomy and dark and destructive and vile and hateful? No. Actually, the opposite. We create life. We create life. All of us do. Right? We create a vessel for gods to come into. So it's interesting, all of us gods on the planet creating vessels that other gods can come into, which is the human baby body. But right now we're not doing enough of it. That'll change for the better. See, it is good to know that all of our stories were created by some life event, big or small, that actually happened. The event naturally occurred. Then the mind took over and invented its special, specific, positive or negative meaning on top of the actual event. See, and these stories stick because something happened in your life that your mind judged as wrong or absolutely always right, and found some sort of peace within that perception. But when you hold on to any thought or idea about life too tightly, you become overly attached and you miss this amazing universe that's happening now. Attachment always leads to some future suffering, and it's always your choice. If you want to be free and manifest more of amazing stuff, or be stuck with the same old small tune. Keeping a story from our past alive takes a lot of work, and it will drain all of our energy. It will keep us living in the illusion and never awaken to the divinity within our. And this illusionary mind loves to create stories about stories. And heck, you might be even creating a story about this exploration of stories. And the reality is that none of us are the mind, nor the ego, nor the body, and certainly not an accumulation of all of our stories in this life. We are much more than can be expressed in words. We are an infinite soul beyond the ideas of freedom and love. We are and always will be so much vaster than any story or ego could invent. We will continue to exist long after this story has been forgotten by you and the world. Our being is naturally expansive and completely free. We have just been covering up our true infinite nature in stories. Join you in a meditation and return to close us out.
Take an easy, deep breath in through the nose. And an easy, deep breath out from the mouth. Everyone is your mirror. Every human being is reflecting aspects of yourself. These are parts that you can or cannot see. Some days you may notice that someone is rich or poor. These are facets of you. Who feels rich or poor inside you? Your job is to recognize these parts and accept them, yet not take any one part too personally. Who you are is much more than your personality. You are all of these parts and none of them. You are that which is beyond all thoughts and perceptions, an infinite soul that cannot be contained by anything. Look deeply into the eyes of those mirrors who are around you and notice what you see. Know that what you see in the other is always perfect, a divine reflection of a much bigger truth that is unfolding within you, with all of us. Take the risk today to find what you love in every mirror you meet. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night, and the following morning. We will return here Monday, July 31, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be of the highest high, the deepest of the deepest, and the purest of the purest. Eternal gratitude, no matter what's going on around you.